Wow, that's a different voice than normal. Okay, so because we just started recording, I'll just say that we have 3 instructors in this course. Priti, which is in my upper left-hand corner. And then we have Carl Ewald, and then myself. And Priti began the class just explaining what Engineering 5, this course, is all about. And it's a career exploration in engineering, but you're going to gain a lot of skills on how to study, what's best methods for you, how to get the resources you need. And I was just explaining a little bit more that at the end of this semester, somebody might be excited about 4 different fields of engineering now. And while at Cabrillo, you still get to explore those 4. And as you go through the coursework, you're going to be able to fine tune on what you like and what you don't like. And when you do apply to transfer to a university, you will then declare your major. The downside for those of you who are high school students that are planning to go directly from high school to 4-year schools, you have to declare which field of engineering. Well, I shouldn't say have to. There are a few universities that allow you to not declare which engineering major, but most of them, and all of them in California, will require that you choose an engineering major. So if you're in your senior year of high school, actually, maybe those of you who are high school students, could you just put your hand up or put a little hand, your own hand up that we could see in the photo, or put, a hand from the Zoom call up. So who are high school students?
And Alt-Y is a way to raise your hand on the Zoom.
Or you could also put it in the chat. So I'm not seeing any notification, but I'm pretty sure there's some of you. In any event, oh, okay, Sam, you are. Oh, do you go by Sam or Samuel? Sam, right?
Yes, I go by Sam.
Okay, great. So Sam, what year in high school are you?
I'm a junior.
Okay, great. So that's great. So you get to explore this year. And then if you do decide you want to go straight to a 4-year university from high school, in the fall of your senior years when you would fill out the application and you would have to declare. So, okay, I think we have a lot more high school students in the 6 o'clock session.
Right.
All right, so I just wanted to add a little bit more about the class. Carl, would you like to add anything else?
I guess just I found the book really helpful, like way beyond just engineering. When I first read it, I was actually trying to learn how to play piano, and I took a lot of the ideas from the book and applied them to my piano studies. So it's really helpful to any path you're taking. So I just want to emphasize that.
And what Carl is referring to is the Studying Engineering textbook for the class. And it's all about determining who you are, assessing your learning style, knowing what teachers would work well for you, how to change your behavior and attitudes to be a successful student. And the guy who wrote the book, Ray Landis, passed away a couple of years ago, but he was really the main person who instilled across the country to have a course such as this. Because many students go into engineering because their parents or the counselor told them to do it, and they don't really know what engineering is all about. And it was really important to him that there'll be a course at community colleges and at universities like our Engineering 5 class that allows students to explore engineering and at the same time find out who they are and learn how to be a successful student. And I remember when I read it, I thought it's written in a very personal way. And I felt like he was writing directly to me. And students in the past who took Engineering 5 have commented on how much the book was a nice book to read. So thanks, Carl, for mentioning that. So Priti, do you want to start your introduction?
Sure. So as I said before, my name is Priti Brahma, and I've put in the Zoom window how to pronounce my name. This is my second semester teaching at Cabrillo. My educational background is I studied mechanical engineering at Berkeley. And I actually went to Berkeley not knowing what to study. I knew I loved math, and I didn't really know much else. And so while I was in high school, I was kind of like, where should I even go? I didn't know. I'd been admitted to Berkeley and UCLA, and I took out both catalogs and looked at them. And since I was undeclared, Berkeley seemed to have more classes to choose from at the time than UCLA. And I was like, well, I'll probably have more possibilities there. So that's how I wound up there. And immediately started taking more math classes, met a whole bunch of engineering students in those classes, and found that I liked what they were doing and clicked with them. And I was like, well, maybe I should pursue engineering. And I actually had to fill out an application for transfer within Berkeley to change my major from undeclared to engineering, because engineering is a school that doesn't just let you say, oh, you've declared engineering, you can come in. They have to have a space for you in their program. And so I chose mechanical engineering, actually, because I didn't have the benefit of this class to know what to choose. And my dad was a mechanical engineer, and I was like, well, you know, I like my dad and I like what he does. So, you know, I think maybe that's the path for me. And I went to school and I had the opportunity to do an internship before I graduated. And this is called a co-op, where you can stop doing your schoolwork and go work at a company for a semester. And so I did that. I worked at Schlage Lock Company, which I don't think they exist anymore in physical presence. I think they're more online, and I don't know. But all I was doing was drafting CAD work as a mechanical engineering intern. And it was okay. It wasn't great. And I looked at my environment and I was like, I was in a really small office. I didn't really connect with a lot of the people I was working with. And I was like, is this really the field for me? So I came back from that, having that experience, and started taking some environmental related classes. It was really like my last couple semesters at Cal. And I decided I really want to do environmental engineering. So I decided to go to grad school, and I went to UCLA for my master's in environmental engineering. And while I was there, my advisor said to me, hey, do you want to do a PhD? And I never thought about it, but he saw something in me. And I was like, well, I don't know if I could do a PhD. I don't know if I'm that person, but I was like, well, it's better to try and fail than to just say, no, I don't want to do a PhD. So I said, yeah, let me give this a go. And so I wound up loving it. I did my research in groundwater hydrology under my professor, and I was there for 7 years. And then I graduated with my PhD in civil and environmental engineering and got my first job at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is NOAA, in their National Weather Service office. And in that job, a big part of my job was actually helping undergraduate and graduate students at minority serving institutions to obtain their degrees in the NOAA sciences. I oversaw many scholarship programs, and I also mentored many students. And then about 8-9 years after that, I decided I needed a change, and I went into teaching. And I taught at American University for 5 years. I've been at Napa Valley College for, I think, 4 years. And now at Cabrillo, this is my second semester. So I'm really happy to be here. And I think, Carl, are you next?
Sure, I'm happy to go next. So my name is Carl Ewald. I am, like Preeti, a second generation engineer. My father was an engineer and worked in the space program in the late 50s, early 60s into the 70s. And I remember, you know, going out in the middle of the night, he would wake me up and we would go out and you get to see the rockets taking off from like Vandenberg and stuff. So I have like a long history of kind of thinking like an engineer. And so that really cemented it in my mind that engineering is really, while modern times, it's all about math and science and, you know, like all of this knowledge, it's really a very innate human quality that almost every person, you know, shows in the way they have fun in the kitchen and working with recipes or making things or Legos or video games. And And so this is a great class to help bridge that kind of natural desire to make things and transition you into kind of the formality of how we do that in industry at this point. I grew up in that period where I was lucky enough that right when video games became really, really popular is also when home computers became really pretty inexpensive. So I, as a freshman in high school, bought a computer called the VIC-20. It was a little computer that you connected to your TV. It had 3,563 bytes of RAM. And but it was really cool because you got to control the computer brain, and I learned how to do programming first with a high-level language called BASIC, and then I learned very quickly if you wanted to program video games, you had to work in the machine language of the microprocessor themselves. So I'd ride the bus back and forth to school, and all the time I was on the bus, I was thinking about how to implement my different video game ideas. And so when I finished up in high school, I really kind of didn't even think about computers as a profession. I was kind of rooted back in the physical world of engineering and space and aircraft. So I started an aeronautical engineering program at UC Davis. And while I was there, I was working odd jobs. I was working at a pizza restaurant, and I was lucky enough that the pizza restaurant kind of went down the tubes at the same time I was taking the materials engineering course. And I applied for a job working in a lab at UC Davis. And I was like super excited when I got into the lab, and it was like all the mad scientist equipment that you see on cartoons and old movies and stuff. And I really took to the field and trying to understand how atoms work together, how they behave, and ended up then taking my computer skills that I had learned earlier and joining those with the materials skills. And I started to write computer models for these material systems. And as you'll find in this class, like when you start a route in engineering, there's a lot of common classes that you take. And it was actually unit-wise, it was cheaper for me to get a double degree in mechanical engineering and materials engineering because I had already started in aero. And so I ended up with a double degree, and I remained excited about the lab environment and got my master's and my PhD in that same lab with the same professor. And that kind of took me into the 90s. And during the 90s, I started to teach some of the lab courses at UC Davis. And then I ended up teaching at some of the community colleges and around Davis. And when I graduated, I decided it was right in the dot-com boom. So I took all those computer skills again and kind of translated them into working in the computer industry. And that was a super exciting time in that industry, but also it was a very worldwide industry. So I ended up working with teams in all over the world, really. But I had teams that I specifically worked with engineers in Iași, Romania, St. Petersburg, Russia. I forget the name of the town in Spain. And then across the United States and Austin and various places across the United States. And I really found that the most important thing to functioning teams was sort of removing the fear from it. And so when you have engineers that are working for you literally on the other side of the planet, and your only connection with them is, phone and email and texting and other stuff like that, you have to basically welcome the reality that they're facing, the problems that they're facing. Otherwise, you can't help them, right? And what happens is the projects will fail because they'll bluff you until it's too late. And then the project fails and everything goes down the tubes. But I was really, really open to the idea of, let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going wrong, what's not going as expected. And so I want to offer that to everyone in the class as well. We are all here to hear about why and how this class is hard and the things that are challenging you, because a lot of times there are lots of resources to help you through those challenges. And even if this is not your time to complete this class, you can come back at another time and complete it. So be, be really open to communicate with us and let us try to help you through the program. As Joanne said, this program has been churning out engineers for over 50 years. And so there are people just like you that have sat in those seats that have faced similar challenges that are now working as engineers and are very happy in their careers. So I'll just make that as my final pitch, like let us know if you have trouble. We're not going to be upset. We welcome those kinds of that information about you. So thanks.
Okay, my turn. You could see why we're called professors, right? We like to profess. So I think that right now you've been just sitting there listening to us. So I think you should stretch a little bit. And I'm going to give you some terminology that when you pull things apart in engineering, it's called tension. And another thing is like us speaking to you when we're seeing a bunch of empty black boxes. It would be really nice if you could put your picture up there or turn your camera on. And one thing we will mention to you today, later on too, is we're going to show you where if you don't have a webcam or you don't have a headset or you don't have a laptop, you could borrow all these from Cabrillo, and we'll show you the website later on where you could get them. So we really would love to be able to see faces, because then we're connecting names with faces and we're not just talking to a bunch of screens. But I'll continue on my introduction. So I want to also mention that, sometimes people say engineers are nerds. And I guess there's an element to us that are, but also we're very social creatures as well. I actually met Carl at a party. A mutual friend of ours was holding a party, and Marty said, "Hey, Joanne, I want you to meet Carl. I think you would be a great teacher." So I met Carl, and sure enough, we hired him. And then every summer I go to an art camp, and I met Priti 2 or 3 years ago, and I learned that she taught at Napa Valley, and she lives up near Oakland and Berkeley. So she couldn't be in person teaching at Cabrillo, but because we're online, I was able to hire her too. So when you probably have heard, it's really good to network with people. It's great to network with people, not even engineers to get a job, but just network in general, and you'll find jobs and meet really cool people. So my background is, although I lost a lot of the New York accent, I grew up in New York. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And when I went to high school, she started working in a cafeteria at an elementary school. And my dad was, I guess, a heating ventilation. He worked for PG&E as a mechanic kind of thing. Like if you have a gas leak in your house, you would call up PG&E and they'd send somebody out to fix. That's what my dad did. So neither of my parents are educated. My dad didn't even finish grammar school, and my mom went to a 2-year high school. So unlike Priti and Carl, I did not have, I didn't know about engineering. However, my dad fixed a lot of things in the house, and he actually got me this canvas bag that had tools in it. And I had my bicycle was upside down more than the right side. I was always fixing it. So I guess in a way I was a little bit of an engineer, but I didn't know anything about that. But what I really wanted to do as I was going through elementary school and high school is I loved math, and I wanted to be a math teacher. That was what my goal was. And when you don't have parents who are educated, you really don't know the full spectrum of what you could actually be. Like, of course, you see doctors and nurses and teachers, and then you know what they do, but you might not know what other people do. But anyway, so I wanted to be a teacher. And as I was going through high school, almost all the girls are going to be teachers and nurses, and I wanted to do something different. And because I liked math and science, I also liked doing stuff like crafts. I realized I made a lot of things. So I thought about architecture, and I took this, when I was a junior in high school, I took a class kind of like this in architecture at the local college. And I realized it was too arty, it was too subjective. And I like things to be more more black and white, more math and science. And somebody said, well, if you like to build things, why don't you go into civil engineering? So that's what I chose. So I went to college for civil engineering. And as I was going through it, the field that I liked the most was geotechnical engineering. Geotechnical is basically observing the type of soil that's in a spot to determine whether it's buildable. So in order to be a geotechnical engineer in New York, you really had to get a master's degree. So I went to University of Maryland. So I moved away from New York, went to live outside of Washington, D.C. Excuse me. And I worked on my master's degree in geotechnical. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to do research or teach. So I'm going to go back in time a little bit. While I was studying civil engineering, I got a bunch of jobs in civil engineering. I worked in surveying for a little bit. I worked for a consulting firm, a general consulting firm, civil engineering. And then I worked for a geotechnical firm. And then I also did research up in Maine. So one summer I spent up at the University of Maine, which was really cool to go. Well, it was in the summer, so it wasn't cold, but it was cool, like cool. It was neat to live in a different place, meet new people, see really cool things. So I did that. So when I went to grad school, I'd already had experience in research, and I really didn't like it. I know both Priti and Carl did a lot of research because they got a PhD, but I didn't really like the research part. But so I decided to do teaching, and it was in graduate school that I got really my first opportunity to teach engineering, and I loved it. And I knew that eventually I would be an engineering teacher, but I really wanted to get engineering experience first. So I lived out in California for a summer to see if I liked it, and I loved it. So I decided to move out to California. I worked in civil engineering and geotechnical, specifically geotechnical engineering, for 7 years. While I was doing that, I learned about the community college system in California, where you really could focus on teaching engineering. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I started teaching part-time at a bunch of community colleges, and then eventually landed the job at Cabrillo, which I love. I was living in Santa Cruz at the time. And I'll tell you, one of the best days of my life, definitely one of the best days of my life, was the day I found out that I got the job at Cabrillo College. I've been here 25 years. I love teaching. I love working with students to help them figure out their educational path. I love that aspect. And I also do a lot of work with finding grants and money to give students scholarships and different opportunities. So I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm glad that I'm team teaching this class with 2 of my friends. So with just the 3 of us, you saw that Priti started in mechanical, she went to civil, and she then went to environmental engineering. So she went through 3. Carl started with mechanical, got exposed a little to aerospace, went to materials, and then worked in industry as a computer program software engineer. And then I started in civil engineering, thinking about architecture, started in civil engineering and went to geotechnical engineering. So just with just the 3 of us, we have more than 5 fields of engineering to expose you to. But in addition, we have a bunch of other faculty at Cabrillo. There's another 7 of us that we have an ocean engineer, ocean marine engineer. We have a structural engineer. We have 2 other mechanical engineers. We have a machinist. I'm probably leaving somebody out. We have a tunnel expert. So we have other one is in construction. So we have other engineers to expose you to in our program at Cabrillo, and then also the alumni. So I guess, okay, I'm gonna go back to the stretching part because I got sidetracked. So stretching like this is tension, and twisting is torsion. And this one is just bending. There's no fancy word for bending in engineering. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over.
I think Joanne said she's turning it over to me. One thing Joanne didn't mention is she's the chair of the engineering department too. So, if you have any questions about engineering, she's a really great resource. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
She's the head of the department, and she knows everyone. So now you've heard about us. So we thought it would be great if we could hear about you. But the way we want to do this is let you guys introduce yourselves to each other in smaller breakout rooms, and then come back and tell us your names and something about yourself. So in the chat, I'm actually putting, whoops, what we want you to discuss. And let me hit return here. So you're going to go into the breakout rooms and you're going to introduce yourselves to each other. Find something in common that you all have. Find something unique that you each have. And I always encourage students to exchange contact info amongst your smaller group. You never know when you might miss a class or just need to contact somebody about something in a class. And this would be a good opportunity to do that, whether it's email addresses or phone numbers.
I have a question. Does
Yeah.
everyone know how to look at the chat? You go down to the bottom of your screen, move your cursor to the bottom of the screen, and there's a, you could select chat, and then you could see what's in the chat. So what you're doing is you're introducing yourself to the other people in your group. You're finding something that's in common among all of you. And don't say, oh, we're all interested in engineering. Come up
Oh,
with something else. So something that's common and then something that's unique about each one of you. Okay? And Priti and Carl, when they're in breakout rooms, can they still see the chat?
Yes, so that's why I put it in the chat. So they can see whatever's been put in the chat now, but not if we add to the chat. They won't see it. They can chat amongst themselves in the breakout room, and they'll see only the chat amongst themselves as well as whatever has come before. So Joanne, you'll have to set up the breakout rooms because you're the host. And we thought that you would have about 7 minutes amongst yourselves, and there's 27 people, so we could do 9 breakout rooms of 3. Carl?
I need to get prepped for my next class in my office hours. So I just wanted to say hello and goodbye to everyone. And I will be back to work with you on a project a bit later.
Thanks, Carl.
I'll see y'all later. Have fun.
Okay, so I set up all the breakout rooms now, Priti.
So at the top of your screen, you should have a little button that says join your breakout room. And so if you click that, you'll be able to go into those breakout rooms. And Joanne, would you mind pausing the recording?
Sure.
Welcome back. So we're going to now have an opportunity to hear from all of you. And before we start that, I just want to point out a couple things about Zoom that may make using it a little bit easier. So if you would all go to somebody who doesn't have their camera on and hover over their name, you'll see 3 little dots. And if you click on those 3 little dots and you see a menu pop up, it says hide non-video participants. So if we all click on that, then what you're left on the screen with is just the folks who have their video on. And now let's all stop our video. All of us who have it on, we'll stop our videos. Everyone. It's the bottom, yep, and bottom left, yep, okay. So this is all of us not with our videos on. And so what I'd like to do to highlight and to really recognize, you know, who's in the class is that we just turn on the videos for those folks in the breakout rooms who are speaking. So we'll all leave ours off, except let's say breakout room 3. Let's have breakout room number 3 turn on their videos. And that was Louis C. and Sam. And here they are. Welcome. Now, would you mind telling us, one of you be a spokesperson and tell us about what was common to you and what was unique?
Okay. Yeah, me and Luis, we both have in common that we love to be in nature and love to go on like hikes out in the forest and just like take in nature. And one thing that's unique to Luis is that he's actually an artist. He went to UCSC and to become an artist. And something that's unique about me is that I love to play baseball, and that kind of stuff, like play sports.
Cool. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Luis. All right. How about room? Oh, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I said thank you.
So now let's have room number 4 turn on your videos, and that would be Alex, Crystal, and Reed.
And everyone, I just wanted to make a note that I'm writing down all the things that are making us different, and I'll show that to everybody at the end of this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Yeah, hi, my name is Crystal. We found out that all of us, if we became engineers, we would all be first generation engineers. One thing unique about me is that none of my parents also don't have a college education. The other folks do. Do you guys want to say your unique thing?
Yeah, sure. So the unique thing about me is that I recently just a bunny that is now living with me and my girlfriend, and there she is. If you wanted to see her, her name is Melon, and she's
So
about
cute.
10 weeks old.
Thank you, Alex. How about you, Reed?
Yeah.
So I've been having audio issues. I don't know how well you can hear me, but a unique thing about me is that I like to work on cars and like rebuild engines and stuff like that and dig deeper into that. That's my unique thing.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Let's go to room number 2. Adam, Nathan, Ulysses, and Jason.
Hello. For room number 2, something that we all had in common was that we were all interested in engineering before we entered Cabrillo. We already had like that spark of engineering within us. But the thing that made us all distinctive is that we all had different beginnings. So Nathan, he has like already, his family has a past and history of becoming engineers, and he's trying to follow that. And that's why he became one, or he's interested in becoming an engineer. And then Adam, he was always like messing around his neighborhood or working in his like garage, just trying to fix things or seeing how things worked, like programming, or I guess how systems were built together. He was always interested in that, and he started that from a young age. So he just wants to continue learning on that, and he decided to go to Cabrillo after going to another college deeper in the south. And Jason, he got interested in engineering in high school because he likes math and he's good at it, and he wants to continue, like, I guess, exploring in that field of math or math related subjects. And then for me, I started getting interested in engineering in my high school engineering class, or just a general class where we learned all types of engineering, usually with tech, but we also have some crafts. So yeah, it's pretty much a summary.
Great. Thank you all. Welcome. Wonderful to see you. Let's go to room number 5, which was Aiden and Thomas.
Right. Hello. We kind of discovered that we both, me and Angel, have a shared interest in marine biology and just kind of learning about like all the different things there are in the ocean. And I specifically started looking at engineering for civil engineering because my father was an architect.
And then something we said for something unique about ourselves. Aiden said about how he has a few fish tanks full of different types of fishes and shrimp actually too. And then for myself, I said that I'm a graphic designer and a video editor.
Cool. Thank you both. Is that your fish tank behind you, Aiden? Oh, you're muted.
Oh yeah, that's one of them. I've got 6 in total.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to room number 1, Brandon, Carlos, and Jose.
Hi there.
Hi.
So one thing we found that we all have in common is that we all enjoy video games, and we had a nice little chat about that.
Mhm.
And something we identified as a difference in all of us is that we already have a primary target of where we want to go in engineering, but we all have different targets. Mine is computer science.
Mine is electrical engineering.
And I'm doing mechanical.
Oh, cool. Okay, great. Thank you. Did you all determine that you like to play the same video game or different games?
Little different interest there, but I think that we came to some common ground with how we feel about games and stuff like that.
Great. Okay. Let's go to room number 6, which is Cody and Jose. And Aiden, if you wouldn't mind turning off your video now. There we go. Cody and Jose, room number 6. There. Oh, you're muted, Cody.
Hello. Is that
Hello.
better?
Yes, but now your video's gone.
Ah,
There we go. Now we're set.
all right. So Jose and I discussed that we both had an interest in reading about history, both in full context as well as in his classic fiction and whatnot. And something unique about Jose was that he likes to be an active person. He likes sports, and he also has an interest in possibly joining companies such as Tesla. And for myself, I like being outdoors and camping as well as playing video games.
Great. Thank you both so much. All right, let's go to room number 9. Alejandro, Cameron, and Ruben. I think you're the spokesperson, Ruben.
All right. So in our group, we decided that the common thing that we all had was that we all liked math, and that's part of the reason that we were going into engineering. And my unique thing was that I have a parrot that talks. I'll let Alejandro say his unique thing.
And then what we also found out is that for our unique things, we all want to do engineering, but different types. So like for me, it's going to be computer engineering. I think for Ruben, you said mechanical engineering, and then
Electrical.
Cameron, electrical? Okay.
Yeah.
And then Cameron said, I think software. So we all have different types of engineering, but almost the same thing.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go to room number 7. We have Julio, Kenz, and Luis. Q. Oh, unmute. So one of you
Oh, there
needs
we
to.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there wasn't much time. So what we found in common was gaming, although very different games. What we found unique about each other was Ken's is already in university, and she's an introvert. So just get that out. But we also found that Julio is actually working, which I'm not, and Ken's is not. And this is actually going to be my first year. And what I left out was that I actually was in the robotics club. So mechanical engineering is my interest, and Ken's actually played the piano once, and I actually play the guitar, if you guys can tell. If you guys want to say anything, go ahead.
I'm actually a computer science major, so this class is just a major requirement for me, but I am interested to learn about engineering because I honestly don't know too much about the engineering side of computers, just more programming.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, I think our last room is room 8. Jasmine, Kevin, and Zane.
I currently have a busy background with my family right now, so I'm just gonna keep my camera off right now. But so what we found in common with all of us was that we either liked building or driving or just admiring learning about cars or auto sports and whatnot. That entire industry that's like very like interesting to all of us. Something that is unique to me was that I'm like actually kind of like a musical theater nerd, which was like very different to like these two people.
Do you want to add, Zane, to that?
Oh yeah, it just yeah. So we did find that we're kind of all, and like we all like sports. We're Jasmine and I were more like motorsport related, and then Kevin was into soccer, so a little bit different, but still sports related. And then yeah, I mean, what she also failed to mention was like how I'm kind of unique in the sense that like I really enjoy working on cars and airplanes and even like reprogramming the computers in a car, and I find that to be very fun and interesting.
Cool, thank
It's
you.
very interesting that you're already like sort of in that industry. It's like really cool to me how you already like are working on that stuff at the moment,
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so we are back here. So here you can see on the screen, we all have our videos off, and I only see my photo. I'm not sure what you all see. Maybe if there's a moment, Joanne, we could do just a couple of the little game things. I don't know. It seems like it would be fun right now.
Sounds great. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for this game, I'm going to say a statement, and if it's true, you turn on your video, and if it's not true, you just leave your video off. And in that way, we kind of get to know each other a little bit more in the class. So for an example, I have never tried surfing. Now, I did not expect to see so many of us on the screen, given where we go to school, but this is great. Yes, that's you get the idea. Okay, so how about, there were a lot of gamers that we had. So how about I'm into gaming? Wow, look at you all. You all have that in common. That's amazing. So now you know your fellow gamers in the class. There's a lot. You might see each other on the in the game world. How about I use a PlayStation? Aha, yeah. Or an Xbox? How about an Xbox? Yeah, platforms seem to matter when it comes to gaming. All right, how about I play an instrument? Yeah, we know Luis Q plays the guitar. Where's our piano player? Who played once? Oh, we've got, okay, Ken's is there, yes. Luis C, great. Oh, I play a sport. Awesome. Yeah. Great. Look at that, all of us. Okay. I thought this was really interesting, and I know that there's at least a few of us that this is true for. I'm a first-generation engineering student. Wow. Amazing. That's great. Really, really great. Wonderful to see you all. Okay, so I'm not going to take any more time with this game, but I think it was kind of fun to see everybody and see that we have so much in common as a class. You know, we may not be together in the classroom, but we do share a lot. And hopefully you also made note of all the students who had things like you as well. And we'll have an opportunity in breakout rooms to discuss those a little bit more. Last thing I want to point out to you all is that if you find the screens moving around a lot while you're like watching the Zoom, you can pin somebody. So I'm going to start my video and you'll see me. And if you go to the 3 dots above my name, 3 dots above my photo and hit down and pin me, and then you do the same thing for Joanne and you say add pin on Joanne, which to get this, okay, add pin on Joanne, then what you'll find is that if the 2 of us or one of us is speaking, that you will always see us on your screen. And that may make it easier for you to locate who's speaking, you know, see our videos, see us as we're speaking if there's interruptions that happen, which happens naturally when the mics aren't on, when the mics aren't off. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Joanne.
Hey, everyone. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for a moment. Can everyone see my screen? You see a thumbs up?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
But it's
So notice that what we're seeing, let me get rid of this over here. Basically what I did is as each of your groups were speaking, I wrote down things that you're interested in. And what I love about teaching at Cabrillo is really welcoming to everyone. And what happens is in an engineering classroom, we have such a diverse group of students in ages and everything and life experiences. And it really brings together a great engineering classroom. You may all know or may not, but many times people confuse science and engineering. You know, science is really what is. It follows all the laws, where engineering is applying math and science to solve problems. So it's much more creative. For instance, and I gave some of these examples in the orientation that I ran last week, scientists are the ones that are studying what the climate change has done to our globe, right? Scientists are studying what the changes are, what is happening. Engineers are working on looking at what has happened and coming up with solutions to better the environment. So engineers use math and science in solving problems. And it's really important when you have that creativity in a career that you're bringing to the table a bunch of people that have many different life experiences and perspectives. Some of you are gamers, some of you love history, some of you are sports minded, some of you play musical instruments, some of you are interested in cars, graphic design, some of you got exposed to engineering early on, some of you are in first generation engineering students, some of you like pets, some of you like math, some of you like biology. You're all going to bring that to the table. And your background is also going to help you in figuring out which engineering field you want to go into. For instance, I had a student in Engineering 5 who initially was thinking about civil engineering. And as we talked about biomedical engineering and did the BioHand project, which you will, it reminded her that many people in her family have diabetes. And she realized that what she really wanted to do is become a biomedical engineer so she could come up with solutions for a problem that her family is facing. So a lot of times what your interest is actually stimulates which field of engineering you're going to go into. We have a number of students who have been so interested in bikes that they went into mechanical engineering, got a degree, and now they're working at Specialized. So you could see that one, having differences, having a group of people of differences can brainstorm different ideas because they have different life experiences and different interests. So that is awesome in an engineering classroom. And I'm glad that we have this in this Engineering 5 class, just like we have it in all engineering classes at Cabrillo. And then second, continue to think about what your interests are, because you could figure out the tie of interest to engineering. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And those of you who can turn back your screens, that would be great, because I love just talking to people. And I wanted to mention a couple of things. Crystal, you're the computer science major, is that right? No. Okay. Is it who's Ken's? So Ken, something that you will determine in this class is you have options. You could get a bachelor's degree in computer science. You could get a bachelor's degree in software engineering, or you could get a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. So during the course of this semester, you should explore all three of those because you have a decision to make. Do you want a degree in computer science or in software engineering?
I actually started out wanting to be a math teacher like you.
Oh,
and then wound up changing to computer science. And maybe eventually, once I have enough experience, we'll go back and be a professor for computer science.
Sounds great. I mean, I certainly love being a teacher as well as Carl and Priti. And then Sam, you're at Aptos High and you love baseball. Have you been
Yeah.
in Aptos Little League since AA and single A? Or are you?
Yeah. I moved from Sacramento in like AAA, I think, but then I played AAA in majors or
You
whatever it
played
is. So-
AAA. Okay. I don't know if you remember, but there was a AAA female coach and that was me. So I was
Oh,
coaching
really?
baseball for years. So I don't know if you remember. Anyway,
yeah,
that's
I feel like, yeah.
okay. So that was me. And then Cody, we've had tons of students who have experience in construction or being an electrician, and they come back to Cabrillo and then they're working in engineering right now and they love it, especially because they're not breaking their back anymore doing the physical labor. So I could, Cody, put you in touch with past students who are now engineers who are very similar in your boat. We have one student who was thinking he was going to do, he worked in a bicycle shop and he did karate and he was going to run a karate studio. And he went to, what are those parties called with his rave? He went to a rave and he was in front and he got nailed against the stage and it hurt his back and he realized he couldn't do karate. He came back for mechanical engineering. He transferred to San Jose State, got this huge award, like best undergraduate, and he's working at Google now. So we have so many of these stories, and I could tell a story about every single one of my students that's related to every single one of you. And as I start reading more through your discussion posts, I'll be able to tell you about that. And also during the semester, you're going to meet with me at least one 30-hour session so that I could help you decide which field to go into, help you set up your courses at Cabrillo so you're all in line, put you in touch with an engineer that's interested in your field. And also when you're ready to transfer, put you in touch with an engineering student who went to Cabrillo who is now at the university that you want to transfer to. So we have a lot of connections. Okay. Priti, looking at my schedule, I'm thinking this is the time we're going to give them a break, finally.
I think so. Sorry, we intended to give you a break after the first hour, but we ran a little late, so.
Okay, so it's 12:30. How about come back at 12:45? We'll give you 15 minutes. Come back at 12:45. And if you have questions or have any kind of questions or just want to talk with us, Priti and I will be here. Okay, so see you in 15 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to share my screen, and I know that sharing your cameras may take up bandwidth, and so whenever I'm sharing my screen or Joanne is, you are welcome to turn off your cameras if so, because we cannot see the Zoom window when we're sharing our screen as well, or I cannot at least. Okay, so let me just give me a second. I'm getting to the right site, and then I will share my screen. So here we go. So just wanted to give you a brief overview of our Canvas site and point out some things that are important for the class. So here you have the modules page. So when you come into this class, I think you're set up to go to the home page here. And, this is just a general overview of the class, but we have set it up so that everything you need is always going to be in a module week by week. And you may have noticed that last week we had our orientation module, which we called week 0. And it gave you an overview of the class, information about us. And I want to note here that our office hours are in this page that says instructors. My office hours are Wednesdays, 12:30 to 2:30. Joanne's office hours are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 2. The other thing that we had is a discussion, and this was a way to introduce yourself to everybody. And since this was an assignment, you can get to it from the module, but also over here is a discussions link, which you can get to it from as well. So if you click on discussions, you'll always have the opportunity to put a discussion, to find your discussion boards over here. But the easier way to get to everything week by week is through the modules, because everything will be in one place for you. So hopefully everybody's filled this out. It's due next Monday. If you haven't had a chance yet, you still have time. We'd just like to hear a little bit about you, maybe post a photo so that we can put a face with a name. Then we have our syllabus here as well for the class, and required materials. Let me just see here. Participation and attendance is defined. I want to click on the grading because I want to make sure that we understand that in this class, we are synchronous. We meet every Thursday for 3 hours from 11:10 to 2:10. And class participation is 40% of your grade. In addition to that, there are assignments in this class. There are weekly assignments based on the book, as well as activities from the class itself, follow-on activities that relate directly to the work done in the class, and those are worth 40% of your grade. And lastly, we will have 2 projects in this class, and we'll introduce them separately during the semester. And those will be worth 20% of your grade in this class. So I want to just make sure that you knew that that was how the class has been set up, and that if there are any questions about that, to let us know. Yes.
Could you show them the idea about getting late?
Oh, sorry. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah.
No problem.
So on your assignments, assignments are always going to be due on a Monday for this class. And you will have a 2-day grace period in which to turn them in, but you lose 10% per day on that grace period of the value of the assignment. And after the 2 days, we won't accept any more assignments because we'd like to get them graded and back to you in a timely fashion. So we want to make sure that we keep the class moving forward as a whole. Now, we understand that sometimes things come up. For example, last week, several people lost power, and these are things that come up. So if something has come up that prevents you from completing an assignment, an emergency, a medical issue, anything like that, just let us know ahead of time that you're running into this issue. If you tell us 3 days after the fact, that kind of doesn't really work out as well. We may have graded it and posted these solutions, so tell us ahead of time and we can make accommodations for emergency situations like that. Okay.
Priti, I just want to repeat it so everybody realizes that the homework is due Monday night at midnight, and you could turn it in Tuesday or Wednesday, but every day late is 10% off. And we totally, as Priti said, we're totally willing to work with you. I mean, we didn't know the Zoom link wasn't working because it was working before. We're always going to run into problems because things are online. It's been raining. There are mudslides. So we are totally willing to work with you. You just need to tell us. And you'll notice on the instructor page, do you mind going to the instructor page, Priti?
This one?
Yeah. The best way, so it has a little bio of each of us that you know already. It has our office hours on it, and it also has how to contact us. And the best way to I'm hoping everyone's listening. The best way to contact us is through the messaging in Canvas. We get tons of email messages, tons and tons. I get 200 a day. So the way I could really help you is when things are in Canvas, because when I go into Canvas, I know that I'm helping my direct students in my classes. So the best way to contact us is by messaging us, where Priti is showing you right now in the inbox there. don't send us an email. But just keep us informed if there are some issues. Okay. And then the other thing you'll find when Priti is going through this is that each homework assignment next to it says who's going to grade it. So look at discussion 1 up there. It says I'm grading it. So if you have a question about it, contact me because you know I'm grading it. There are other homeworks that Priti is grading or Carl is grading. So go to the instructor who's grading it. Every single quiz and homework, it specifies who's in charge of that homework or quiz. So stop sharing for a minute, Priti.
Oh, okay.
I want to see everybody's face. So are there any questions regarding that? The homeworks, the due dates, who to contact, how to get a hold of us? Everybody cool? Give me a thumbs up.
And the grading, and the grading.
Grading. Questions? Okay. That we wanted to make sure you guys were good with. Okay, Priti, let's go back to sharing. Thanks.
Okay, just a couple more things. I wanted to show you that this week there is a homework and there's a quiz, and you'll see that this is all about from the chapter this week, chapter 1 in the prologue. And some of you may still be getting the book because today's the first class and this is due Monday. In that case, we've posted the prologue and the chapter for this week, but we won't be posting it beyond this week. So please get the book in time for the next homework assignment. And also something to note there is the Cabrillo bookstore has the book for you. Then I wanted to just go into a homework assignment here to show you how to submit a homework. And you'll see here that it lists exactly what you need to do once you click on the page for the homework. And the key at the top is that this button says submit assignment. And it says right underneath there that you can submit a PDF or a Word document. What you cannot submit is a link to a Google document. We will not be able to open that. You need to set permissions very carefully on those. And so we really want you to download a document you create, whether it's in Google Docs or in any other sort of Word program, and upload a file here. And that's true for all of the homework assignments. You will be uploading a file. Please do not send us a link to a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Doc or anything like that. The other thing you'll see is that for all of the assignments, there is a rubric that indicates to you the point breakdown of those assignments. So, and the assignments are all worth somewhere between 10 and 15 points, depending on the individual, depending on what it's about for the week. Let me see what else I had here. I think that was it. Double check. Yeah. Are there any questions on using Canvas, homeworks, quizzes? The quizzes are just a recap of what you have read in the book. So they really actually test your reading of the chapters. And there are 8 chapters in the book. So there are 8 homework assignments and 8 quizzes that directly relate to the chapters in the book. And then there will be homeworks that are related to class materials that we do during the class time that are separate from those.
I have a question in regards to the homework.
Sure.
For like, for instance, our goals and our listing of our goals by the week and by the month and all that kind of stuff. How complete of sentences, I mean, if we just list number B or letter B and we write our, this week, my goals are short term, my goals are.
Yes.
How paragraphed out do you need that all to be? Do you need that to be in real complete sentences, or is it just answers good enough? So on and so forth.
So that's a really great question. I'm really glad you brought it up. Thanks. Was that you, Cody? I think it was Cody. I don't have my screen on.
That's Cody.
Okay. We want to see good grammar, punctuation, no typos, elimination of spelling errors on your homework assignments. Where it says make a list, make a list. Okay, it doesn't have to be complete sentences. But if it says write a paragraph, then it needs to be complete sentences. So, let's give a couple examples actually while we're at this site here. It says develop a list of 20 goals you want to accomplish in your lifetime. You'll note that we've estimated the amount of time it might take you to do this for your own planning purposes. Okay, and then immediate. Could someone give me an immediate goal for this week?
Stay on top of my homework.
Okay, stay on top of my homework. That's probably an incomplete sentence. I'm not sure. It's hard to find the verb in there. Stay is sort of the verb, and you never start a sentence with a verb. But that would be fine for a list. It's a list as long as there's no typos or anything. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Dee, would you go back to week 0?
Sure.
So let's show them the page that shows them how they could get technology. I think it might even, we probably even sent it in an announcement. Let's see.
Was it the Zoom or the tech?
Let's see. This is a good one to point out. Priti and I are not experts in Canvas, and there are people at Cabrillo that are experts in Canvas. And notice it says Cabrillo Canvas Help. Go to the Computer Technology Center website, and they have Zoom sessions all day long to help people with Canvas. So if you have a problem with Canvas, it's not worth it to ask Priti or I. Just go and talk to the CTC.
They actually help get online to this program, to this class today.
Great.
What?
They helped Cody connect to the class today.
Great. Excellent. Great.
You also have a help button here that allows you to chat, and also a self-service menu here. So just pointing that out.
Yeah. So there is, help, tech support online, but if you're like me, where I like to talk to somebody, CTC is the best. And then take a look at the top. Cabrillo's loaning out computers and technology. If you go to this website, there's a link there that says apply to hardware equipment loan. And again, you could get a webcam, you could get a hotspot, you could get a headset, you could get a Chromebook, you could get a laptop. So go on there and tell them which class you're in and what you need. Okay?
And then the other thing I think Joanne wanted to point out was Zoom. We'll have to update this meeting ID and password. Okay, so if you want to add a virtual background in Zoom, there's a link here on how to do that. If you need a green screen, a green tablecloth at the dollar store, you can hang it behind you, and that'll take care of everything, any issues with putting in a background on Zoom as well. Yeah.
It's just really hard as a teacher to teach to blank screens and not teach the faces. So we realized that could you stop sharing for a moment?
Yep.
So we realized that you might want privacy, but you can get privacy in other ways. So right now you see the back of behind me, you see my living room. But now if I go down to stop video on the bottom left and hit the up arrow, I could choose a virtual background, and I have already put in a virtual background. And now, do you see Rio College Engineering behind me? Right? You could see that. Or I put in another background, which I chose some engineering paper that you're going to be using in the future, not in this class, but in another class. So you could do this to put your background if you want to keep what's behind you private. But we really like the idea of seeing your face, but it's your choice in the end. I'm going to just get rid of the virtual background now.
And, if you don't have a webcam, which I think most of you were able to turn it on while we were doing the little game and the introductions. But if you don't, I believe Cabrillo is also loaning those. Yep. Yeah. So you could get one that way too. And I think it illustrated when we all turned off our cameras and all you saw was, I think, yourself in photo or not, what it's like to be an instructor and see a sea of just names and no faces. So, we really appreciate those of you who have your cameras on. Thank you very much. Okay, that was all I had for the modules and overview, Joanne. I think, did you want to add anything on? Oh, you wanted to go to the about, or the course schedule.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that's right. Thanks. So I'm going to share the screen now. Hang on a moment. So again, as Prithvi said, everything, you're looking at my screen, not the student view right now. So it looks a little bit different. But everything's in the module. But another way of knowing what's due when is I find it, and my other students in classes previous semesters really like the calendar. So if you click on the calendar, Prithvi, this is what you meant, right?
No, but this is fine. This is good.
Okay. So notice that it says on every Thursday, it says what the class topic is. So today's class topic was overview. Next week's class topic is engineering profession. So every topic, this calendar shows the topic for each class, and then also shows when all the homework's due. So right now this is for January, but if I go to February, you'll see that all the class topics are in here and when all the homework and quizzes that are due. Now, some of you are more visual learners. I find that to be myself. So having this visual of what's due when was helpful for me. Okay. So typically you have a discussion, a homework, and a quiz that's due each Monday. And again, they can be handed in late, but they get points docked off. And as Priti said, the homework and the quiz, they're associated with the chapters, and there are 8 chapters. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, I think also just we wanted to, one more thing that we wanted to point out on the modules is every week it also should say to you who is teaching the class that week, and you'll know that ahead of time. So, today we had all 3 of us for class 1, but if you know, underneath, you'll see class 2 is Joanne, and then Joanne and I will be alternating weeks. So you'll see me one week and then Joanne the following week. And the other thing that Joanne, I think you wanted to talk about was this schedule here.
Yeah, on this page about our class, it also is showing you visually what we're doing each class. So you can see that week 1 and week 2 are really dedicated to all the fields of engineering in general. Week 3 is we're going through the engineering design process, and you're going to be looking at marine, ocean, and aeronautical engineering. Week 4 is engineering education. Week 5. And Luis, remember your question about how engineering fields are kind of grouped together? You'll see a little bit of the grouping right here. Week 5 is civil, environmental, structural, and architectural. Week 6 is materials and chemical engineering. Week 7 is mechanical, biomedical, mechatronics, robotics. Week 8 is software, computer, electrical. And week 8 is when you're going to see Carl again. Carl only comes back in one more time to class. And then we have spring break. And then week 9 is engineering and employment, ethics and social justice in engineering. Week 10 is agricultural and manufacturing. And then the last day is a culmination. So week 1 and 2, you'll see both Priti and I. Week 3 is Priti, then me, then Priti, then me, then Priti, then Carl, then spring break, then me twice, and then Priti and me in the last class. So at this point, we're hoping that we've given you a complete overview of what the course is all about. But realize that this class is for you. If there's something that you want covered in the class that you didn't see us show, then you need to tell us, because we could tweak the class any way you want to cover things that you want. Okay? So we're going to cover what the engineering education process is about. We're going to cover the engineering design process. We're going to cover every field of engineering. We're going to do a project in fields of engineering. We're going to talk about the types of industries you'd work in, the types of job descriptions you'd have. We're going to look at the outlook, job outlook of the growth of your field of engineering. We're going to look at salaries. We're going to look at being an ethical engineer. We're going to look at social justice in engineering, where, I mean, I think, okay, so could you think of anything right now that you are hoping to get to from this class? Oh, plus you'll have speakers who are working as engineers, and they'll tell what their day is like at work. So if you could think of anything right now, could you tell us, or write it in the chat?
I do have one question.
Luis.
When you say we're going to look at every field of engineering, do you mean every field in the engineering industry, or is this specific to what Cabrillo offers?
Oh, okay. Good question. Cabrillo teaches the first 2 years of the courses in engineering, which means they're called lower division. Everybody say lower division. So lower division is the freshman and sophomore level classes. Upper division is the junior and senior. Cabrillo offers the first 2 years of every single engineering discipline out there. So we prepare you for a bachelor's or a master's in any field of engineering. Okay? Some universities only offer some fields of engineering. So if you want to go into materials engineering, you're not going to transfer to Davis because they don't have material. Well, actually, I should not throw out Davis. Who doesn't have materials? I think UC Santa Barbara doesn't have materials. We'd have to look, I have to look it up sometimes. But so it's gonna, the field of engineering you're interested in is gonna limit where you go for your, to where you transfer to at a university. Cabrillo covers it all.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments about something you were hoping to get out of the class that you haven't seen us introduce yet? Crystal?
Yeah, I was, when you said industries, one thing that I'm interested in knowing about is the kind of government jobs I could get in engineering.
Great. So next week, we're going to talk about industries. And if I don't remember, Crystal, will you remind me that I'll talk about working for the government as well?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, Priti, I guess we're ready to move on.
So the next topic we had was your fields of engineering.
Okay, how is everyone doing? Is it okay if we move on to another breakout room? I mean, we just had a break. I'm feeling we could keep going. Does everybody give me the thumbs up? We could keep going? Okay, so we're gonna set you up in breakout rooms again, and hopefully you'll be in with different people so that you meet more people. I mean, another goal of the class that we haven't mentioned yet is that in Engineering 5, you are meeting all the students that you're going to see in your classes as you move along. And you want to set up networks with these folks. So find who you work well with. Those are the people, and find out what courses other people in your breakout sessions are taking, because you could study together. I mean, really, the way of getting through engineering, and you're going to learn in the textbook, is really working with each other. Even those of you who like flew through high school and got all A's and never studied, you're going to have to study and work in teams to get through the engineering program. It's a way that, one of you is going to remember something from high school, or be better with dot product, and somebody might be better with cross product, and you're going to help each other. So this is a really great way of getting to know each other, and that's why we're doing this a lot. So in your breakout group, what you want to do is come up with a list of engineering fields, as many engineering fields as you can. I would say you should have at least 20, but you might have upwards of 30. But in your group, first thing when you get in a group is you introduce yourself to each other and meet each other, and then start making a list of all the different engineering fields. And when we come back together, we're going to make a list together. Okay, Priti, do you want to put them?
Yep, I did it already, and the rooms are being opened.
And we're going to give you about 10 minutes.
Yep. Oh.
And so let's do what we did before. where Priti had each group come forward and show their faces and then go back. So let's do that. And we're just going to keep going around. So let's just start with number one. Since I'm going to be tabulating all the fields of engineering and sharing my screen, I'm not going to be able to see faces. So maybe Priti, you could kind of control this. But what I would like is when group one comes up, name 3 fields of engineering. And then group 2 comes up, names 3 fields of engineering that group 1 didn't name. Then group 3 comes up with 3 new fields of engineering. And you could say whatever. I mean, it'll be fun to go through this. And we have, what do we have? We have
9 groups.
9 groups, and we have about 50 minutes that we could talk about this. Great.
So room 1 is.
I'm gonna start sharing my screen then.
Okay, and well, if you share your screen, we won't be able to see anybody.
Okay, well then, that's okay. You guys just.
We don't have to see them. Yeah,
we don't have to.
Okay, so room 1 is Cody, Luis C, and Sam. Can you guys give us 3 fields of engineering?
Okay, hang on a second. Now I know, I think from my experience with students, you guys don't really like this kind of thing where you see the paragraph forms, but I'm hoping you're going to just ignore it, because for me, I could see how my screen is set up. So, okay, so group 1.
Hi, yeah, Sam, Lewis, and I, we came up with bio was one, space was another.
Okay.
I don't know if that's space or aviation or aerodynamics particularly, or if there's one specifically for space.
It's aerospace engineering.
Okay.
And I'll talk, once you say the third one, then I'll start talking about them. What's the third?
Material.
Material. Okay, so one thing you're gonna learn today, we're gonna start learning today, is the different abbreviations for the fields of engineering. And I encourage you, although I will post this under our class notes for today. If you wanna start jotting things down, you can. So aerospace engineering actually fell under mechanical engineering. It used to be a subcategory of mechanical engineering. And because it was the first engineering with an A, it got the AE. So it's aerospace engineering, and it's also aeronautical engineering. Okay, I put aeronautical engineering here. But basically, just like mechanical engineers and aerospace engineers are designing things that we could touch that move. And aerospace engineers typically are designing something that moves through a fluid. And a fluid isn't just a liquid. Air is a fluid too. So if you think of what things move through fluids, well, certainly we could say aircraft, spacecraft, we could say boats, we could say baseballs, golf balls, bullets, rockets. Anything that moves through a fluid is designed by our aero engineer. Materials engineering, it's not ME. Why do you think materials engineering isn't ME? Someone just.
Mechanical.
Because ME was landed by mechanical, and since it's probably going to be said soon, so I'll just write it here. So mechanical engineering was the first M engineering, so they got the ME. So MATI is materials engineering, and there are a bunch of different kinds of materials that engineers design, and I'll list those as we go along, okay? Because those are other fields of engineering. And then bioengineering, I need to talk a little bit more about that. And actually, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and just look at everybody. You guys all okay? I'm just going to talk. I'm going to just talk. I mean, I like to talk, right? I'm going to just talk and give you an overview of these fields of engineering. And we are recording. So if you find you zone out, and it's totally reasonable, even in a classroom, to zone out at some point when a teacher is speaking, you could watch the video, or that's all you have to say is, Joanne, could you repeat that? Because I just zoned out. I'm totally cool with that. My husband and I have that agreement all the time, because there's a time he's talking and I'm thinking about something else. And we have this agreement that I say, oh, sorry, Jamie, I just zoned out. Could you just repeat that? And we don't get pissed off at each other. So the same thing is here. You zone out, you just say, Joanne, could you repeat that? Okay. But I will be talking. But I want you to, start getting this material to be a part of you. So I'm going to go back to sharing. So bioengineering is a big category that includes genetic engineering and biomedical engineering. And I want to explain the difference between these two. Genetic engineering is really designing the best tomato or designing cancer drugs that somebody could take, right? Chemotherapy, you probably know that when you take chemotherapy, it's impacting the good cells as well. But genetic engineers have designed cancer pills that just affect the bad cancerous cells. So this is genetic engineering. The other one is biomedical engineering, and it's more about devices, biomedical devices, prosthetics, fake arms, fake legs, braces, pacemakers, things that go inside the body and things that are outside the body. When you go in the doctor's office, stethoscopes, that's biomedical device. And all the equipment you see with the eye doctor looking at your eyes, that's all biomedical devices. So if you think about these two, genetic engineering is more about biology. Biomedical engineering are really more about mechanical devices that are used in the medical industry. Okay? But bioengineering is still relatively new, maybe only 20 years old.
Amy, can you give me that whiteboard that's next to you?
All right, so some universities still call their program bioengineering because they don't know which direction they may go in the future. But those schools like Cal Poly and San Jose State call their program biomedical engineering. So you know it's all about devices, not about genetics. Okay, questions about these four? Okay, group two.
Group 2 is Aiden, Reuben, and Ulysses.
Okay. Name 3 fields of engineering.
All right, so 3 fields that we came up with were nuclear, automotive, and environmental.
Oh, I spelled automotive wrong. Okay, so NE is nuclear. And if you're interested in that, you're really going to have to research it because I don't know much about it. I've only had 2 students go into nuclear engineering just because only 2 were interested, and they wound up going to Troy, New York, RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic, to get a bachelor's degree in nuclear engineering. It's very much focused on physics and nuclear reactions. I don't know a lot about it, but it's certainly something we can explore. And next week, the second half, or most of the latter part of next week's class, we're going to explore obscure fields of engineering. And if you guys are interested in nuclear, that's one that you could explore. Automotive, what do you think automotive engineering is under group 2? It's a specialty of what?
Mechanical?
Correct. Right. And talk like you're sure of yourself. You don't have to ask the question. Just say it. I think it's part of mechanical.
All right.
Okay? All right. And then environmental engineering. And environmental engineering has a few categories. One is prevention. Did I spell that right? No, I'm not a very good speller. And maybe it's kind of an engineering kind of thing. I don't know. All right, prevention of contamination, contamination, and then also cleanup. This is spelled wrong, so let's see. Contamination. So environmental, if a school is going to go into an area, if a school wants to be built, they're going to need to hire an environmental engineer to check on what has been going on in that area before. Because if there was a chemical treatment plant there that spewed some chemicals into the environment, we'd have to check that out so that we could get the cleanup done and then prevent any contamination in the future. But in addition to prevention and contamination, there's a lot of like new water systems, air, and et cetera. air pollution, water, air pollution. Humboldt State has a really good environmental engineering program. It's called Environmental Resources, where you could choose your specialty of water, air. What am I leaving out? Water, air. There were
Soil.
4. What?
Soil.
They have wastewater treatment. too.
Soil.
Maybe that
I
goes
don't remember,
underwater.
but right now I'm just going to write that. Okay. So if you choose environmental engineering and you want to specialize in water, you can learn how to design water systems and make sure water systems are clean. Okay. Any questions about them? Remember, this is just kind of a broad overview. During the course of the semester, we're going to go more in depth. Okay. How about group 3?
Room 3 is Carlos, Julio, and Reed.
All right. So just name off 3.
Name 3 that are not mentioned yet.
All right. Petroleum, solar, and network engineering.
Okay, petroleum, I didn't spell that right either. Boy, this is not so good. Sorry, you guys. That's good. Petroleum, corrected for me. So petroleum engineering, what is good about petroleum engineering is you really get to be going to remote places. You could work on oil rigs out in the oceans. You could work in Saudi Arabia. You could work in other parts of the world. The bad thing is maybe that we don't really want to rely on petroleum anymore. So it's not a growing field, but petroleum, could you name the other 2? I'm sorry, I got sidetracked already.
Sorry, the other 2 were solar and network engineering.
Okay, so solar engineering really isn't a discipline. Oh, and let me show you the top. These are synonyms. You could say, what is your field of engineering, or what's your engineering discipline, or what branch of engineering? Solar engineering isn't one, it's more of an industry you would work in. If you're going into solar, you might get a degree in electrical engineering. I'm just going to write it down because I'm mentioning it. You might get a degree in electrical engineering. You might get a degree in mechanical engineering if you want to design and build solar plants. You might get a degree in environmental. I will add, though, that UC Berkeley, only at UC Berkeley in California that I know of, actually has a degree called a bachelor's degree called energy engineering. So I imagine that solar is probably within there, but solar engineering isn't a degree. And then the last one you said was networking engineering. Again, a network engineer is a job title. Should I just write that? So a solar engineer and a network engineer are really job titles. Okay, I'm just going to back this up for a minute. I'll move this down. So somebody who is a network engineer would either have a degree in computer engineering, or they would have a degree in computer science, or they may have a degree in software engineering. So sorry, I'm actually listing some that I'm not giving you a chance to say them. But a network engineer is an engineer who works on establishing local or area networks, and most likely they're a computer engineer or a software engineer. A computer engineer or a computer scientist. So I want to look at this in terms of engineering degrees you could get. So you could say, I want to be a solar engineer, I want to work in solar, but you're going to have to decide which degree you want to get. Same as networking engineer. Okay, how about group 4?
Group 4 is Adam, Kevin, and Zane.
Hello. So 3 that we came up with were agricultural,
Great.
marine, and chemical.
Great. Okay, so notice that ag engineering can't be AE because that's aerospace. So they came up with Aggie. Okay, and Aggie is very interesting, and we're going to spend time doing that. Aggies are involved in like robotics. They are involved in irrigation systems. They're involved in, any kind of technology. Ag tech is a big thing. We're going to I'm going to videotape a tour up at the horticulture facility at Cabrillo, because they're doing a lot of ag tech now. They're making these sensors that they put in soil to determine how much water the plant needs and not using too much water. So it's all about sustainable engineering. Marine and ocean, that really goes under both mechanical and aerospace engineering. But there are some universities that do offer bachelor's degrees in marine engineering. And you're going to meet Rob Weiland in a class actually in 2 weeks, where he is an ocean engineer and he works at USGS. Crystal, you talked about working for government. United States Geological Survey, USGS, is located on the west side of Santa Cruz, and that's a government organization that hires engineers. And then chemical engineers, of course, doesn't get the CE because CE is civil engineering, which no one had mentioned yet. Okay, next group.
That's room 5. It's Alex, Brandon, and Oscar.
All right, so the three of the many we came up with are industrial, structural, and architectural.
Great. What do you think architectural engineers are? How do you abbreviate that?
Archie?
Yeah. Archie. And then Nathan, you might know a lot about structural engineering because your mom's a structural engineer. Okay. The difference between architectural and structural engineering is architectural engineering is more tied in with art and architecture. So it's more on how something looks. They do learn about the structural part of it, but typically when you have an architectural engineer, they're usually working with structural engineers as well. And in terms of licensing, we're going to talk about this at the end of the semester. Oh, and by the way, you guys probably know, or maybe not, this is only an 11-week course. It ends before the whole semester. It ends in April. It doesn't go the whole semester. Towards the end of the course, God, what was I going to say? Oh, we're going to talk about licensing. There is no license for architectural engineers. So people who get a bachelor's degree in architectural engineering, eventually what they do is they wind up getting a license in civil and in structural engineering. Cal Poly is the only school in the state that offers an architectural engineering degree. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And UC San Diego is the only school in the state that offers a bachelor's degree in structural engineering. Okay. Oh, industrial. I didn't mention anything about that. Industrial engineering is really for very organized people. And you are really the link between management and engineers. You run companies. You run manufacturing facilities. You run factories. So if you think about industrial engineering, Dominican Hospital hires industrial engineers to run things. Their industrial engineers are very efficient, they're streamlined, they know how to run things. Companies, any kind of factory runs them. Safeway has industrial engineers. Oh, Jamba Juice, the main corporation of Jamba Juice hires industrial engineers to figure out how to coordinate all the different branches and how to streamline making sure that the strawberry shake at one place is the same as the strawberry shake somewhere else. Okay, next group. Are we up to 5 now?
I think we're on room 6, and I just want to add to that industrial engineering that one of the most famous people is Tim Cook of Apple. He's an industrial engineer.
Cool.
Just to give you an idea, you could become, what is he, a CEO now? Yeah. Group room 6, Crystal, Ken's, and Cameron are up.
And you guys might be running
all our
out.
ideas, Joanne.
Yeah, you're probably running out, but just there must be something obscure on your list, and just say it anyway.
Microengineering, I think that's a branch of
Okay, so I'm thinking what you mean is nano. Nanotechnology. It's all about tiny, 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 tiny things. Like the sunscreen you have has zinc oxide in it, and it has it in such small particle size that we still don't know whether those small particles can go inside the cells. So it's better not to buy sunscreen that has zinc oxide in it. So
Isn't that what
nanotechnology
like
is
natural sunscreen has in?
natural sunscreen doesn't have zinc oxide in it.
Oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, just look at the label. I mean, I still use the same old stuff, but you guys are younger, take care of yourself better than me.
Do they not use the word naval engineering anymore?
Yes, I bet in the military they would. So I'm gonna put it over here with our, where's our ocean, marine? I'll put naval. It's all the same. Oh, and by the way,
I'm trying to look in the list here of anything else.
Okay.
I think you guys have mentioned computer and software engineering
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, we have that. But how about, can I give you your group 6 a hint? Materials engineering is broad. There are many different types of engineering materials. Can you think of some engineering materials? What do engineers build with?
What about plastic?
Plastic, great. So they're polymer engineers. That's
Or
plastic. What
people
else
that
do
get
engineers
stuff
build
that
with?
biodegrade.
Some could biodegrade, correct. You'll learn a lot about material. We'll cover material. I love materials. If I knew about materials when I was in high school, I probably would have went into materials engineering. It's really fascinating. Okay, what other materials do engineers design with besides plastics?
Concrete.
Okay, concrete. Concrete is a composite. So a composite engineer, a composite is a combo of engineering materials. So a concrete has cement in it, and cement is a ceramic. There are ceramic engineers, and concrete also has rocks in it, which is considered a ceramic. And it also has rebar in it, which, what's rebar made out of? What material? Anybody can answer. It doesn't have to be crystal. Metal. Okay, this is a hard one to spell. Metallurgical engineer. I think I spelled it. I think I spelled it right. Let me see. No, maybe it's 2 L's. Yeah, 2 L's. Oh well. Okay, metallurgical engineer. So materials engineers can specialize. They could specialize in polymers, composites, ceramics, and metallurgical engineering. And back east, like in Massachusetts, you could get a bachelor's degree in polymer engineering. And I bet at University of Delaware you can too, because that's where Dow Chemical is and all those other ones. Okay, let's go on to the next group. Are we on group 7 now?
We are. That's Angel, Jasmine, and Jose.
Okay, is there anything on your list that hasn't been said yet?
There's acoustical and thermal.
Yay, acoustical. Now, acoustical engineering, there are 2 different types. So there are 2 different types. One I mentioned, if you're dealing with structures, you want to get a degree in architectural engineering. But if you're talking about music, stuff like music, then you want to get an electrical engineering degree. So if you want to have acoustics great in some concert hall, you get an architectural engineering degree. If you're interested in acoustics in terms of like ear sets, there's a company in Santa Cruz called Plantronics. You probably heard of it. They're a worldwide company, Plantronics. They make headsets. Then you would want electrical engineering. Good. Another one, group 7?
Thermal.
Thermal. I probably would add that to this down here. It's really more of a job description. You might work in thermal. but it's typically a mechanical engineering job. So you would learn about thermal stuff, and so I'm going to write job titles. Hang on a second. Let me write. So thermal is more, and I'm okay with getting rid of these things now. It's probably better for your eyes. So thermal, I would put it under mechanical. If you're interested in doing thermal stuff, like for instance, another one is, has anybody heard of HVAC? What's HVAC? Do you know what that stands for? Does anybody know?
Heating, venting, and air conditioning.
Right. is
That's
that
what my
Cody?
dad does.
Okay, who's that?
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
My dad does that.
Okay, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, it's all under mechanical engineering. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go to group 8.
Room 8 is Jose Ramirez, Thomas, and Jason.
Maybe photonics engineering?
Photonics is that solar panels? No, that's photoelectric.
It's more concerned with
No, photonic.
light and
Oh, light. Okay, yeah. It's an optical engineer. Thank you. And typically you get a degree in electrical engineering. Optical. You could get a master's or a PhD in optical engineering, but actually, you know what? One of our students transferred to a university in Ohio. I don't remember where she went, but she ultimately got a master's and a PhD in optical engineering, and she's a professor now. Carrie Heibarker. Anyway, so optical engineering, but there aren't any schools and universities in California that give bachelor's degrees in optical engineering. Group 8, is there any more you could think of? Or you have on your
mining.
list? What?
Mining.
Mining, good. Mining engineering. And a big school on that is Colorado School of Mines. And I know I've had one student who went there, but mining engineering definitely is a field of engineering. Another one similar to that, and I hope I'm not taking it away from somebody, but geological engineering, it's very similar to mining. It's a cross between civil engineering and geology. Okay, how about group 9?
Last group, Alejandro, Luis, Q, and Nathan.
So one would be transportation.
Great. Transportation engineering, and that's under civil engineering. And typically you can't get a bachelor's degree in it, but you could specialize in it with a bachelor's degree. And we'll talk about specialization on the engineering education day. Group 9, did you have any others?
Do we have robotics engineering?
No.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say that.
Great. Okay, and that's mechatronics. Some schools call it mechatronics and some call it robotics engineering. And what that really is, you like this mathematical equation? It's equal to ME plus EE plus software engineering or computer science, plus. So it's really a mechanical device that has circuitry on it and wires, and it has programming. And mechatronics engineering, Cal State University, Monterey Bay, which is in Monterey, it's only about 20 minutes south of Watsonville, I think 15. They're going to have a mechatronics program starting in the fall of 23. They'll start taking transfer students. So some of you are still here in the future, just starting out, that may be a perfect program for you to go to. It'll be pretty close to home. It'll be the closest school, but UCSC. But UCSC only has electrical and computer engineering, and they have genetic engineering. Okay, anyone now? Any field of engineering?
How about audio?
So audio is under acoustics.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. How about food?
Say it again.
Food.
Oh, food, great. So audio, typically the person at a concert hall who, works with that big piece of equipment that, I I don't even know it all, but they're controlling all the speakers and the bass and the treble and all that. That's called an audio engineer, but they're not an engineer. They're a technician, right? So acoustical engineer is the correct word. And food engineering is great. And this all has to do with packaging. So, so for
Go ahead.
instance, you have oranges and you want to make orange juice and bottle it. You know, food engineers are wondering about, okay, how am I going to get the juice out and get it? That's all food engineering. Packaging, like putting chicken out to stores, that's all packaging. I heard another voice.
Pharmaceutical and genetic.
So genetic is up here. And I would probably put pharmaceutical in here. I would say pharmaceutical is more of a job title. Okay, pharmaceutical. I think I spelled it right.
Probably one that chemical engineers go into.
Yes. And did we do chemi already? Yes, we did. Yeah, so it would be best to go into chemical engineering. Good.
Has
Okay, I'm
anybody
thinking of
said,
one. Okay, I'm hearing somebody. What?
what about agricultural engineering?
Yeah, so we have that one listed already. Where is it? Aggie, right here. That's a great one. Okay, what else?
Are aviation and aerodynamics, are those both part of aeros?
Yeah, they're all both
aerospace
aero. They're
Okay.
combined in an aerospace degree.
Would electronics be considered an electrical?
It's in electrical, yes.
Okay.
Good, great, keep mentioning them. Other ones?
Is there a hardware engineering? for,
Hardware
like,
engineer is
computers?
a computer engineer. That's what a hardware engineer. The difference between computer engineering and software engineering is computer engineers are dealing with the hardware, the stuff that you could touch in a computer, and the software is the program. Any more? Okay, so I have one more. Geomatic engineering. It's really surveying engineering. It falls under civil engineering, but it's gotten a fancier word. So Cal State, Fresno State has geomatic engineering. So it's a cross between civil engineering and surveying. It's another really cool field. I probably shouldn't say things like, oh, this is a cool field or this is a great one, because I'm just rating them on what I like, you know, and we're all going to like different things. Like electrical engineering, I don't really like so much. So I don't say it's so cool. So I probably shouldn't say it's cool or not, because that's me. So did anybody have another one?
Well, you listed surveying E as that's its own field. We didn't list that with.
I could just say, no, I'll just write surveying. Because
What about
it used to, Cody, it used to be called surveying engineering. And then it was a long time ago, maybe 15 to 20 years ago, they changed the title to geomatic engineering. Because it's bigger than just surveying. Now it's not just surveying with land, it's using ArcView and GIS software and global positioning and stuff like that. Okay, any other? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, Luis, you had asked about categorizing. I'm going to turn this on for a minute just so I could go down here. I'll turn it off. You had asked me to categorize things. So engineering categories. And since we have time, I'll do it now. Let me just start writing it while you could just, you know, watch. You're going to see that there's going to be some in each oh, we forgot, we didn't do manufacturing. Manufacturing engineering is another one. I'll write robotics because some schools call it robotics.
We have a question. Would food engineering fall under manufacturing if it deals with packaging strategies?
Let me continue doing this and then I could talk about those, okay? We'll talk about those obscure ones in a bit. This is my own abbreviation, software engineering. Let's just call it, I put a dash up here, but let's just do, I didn't write it, so I'll just put I'll call it S. Are you seeing the categories? Are you seeing what I'm?
Yes.
Yes.
You could see them and you probably are starting to realize how come I'm separating some of these. Hang on, let me move some of this up here so it gives us some space. Notice that environmental engineering is going under the chemical category, but also it's also in civil.
My 10-minute warning on class ending just went off.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so let me tell you the categories and then we can talk about those obscure ones you have. So this you could see is more the civil, right? Civil, structural, architectural, but environmental engineering is really under civil engineering, even though it doesn't involve chemicals. So we could also put it under here. Okay, so this is more the fields of engineering that involve chemistry, chemical engineering, bioengineering, genetic engineering, environmental materials, petroleum, all that has to do with chemistry. Then this one, so civil is more designing things that don't move, and mechanical and aero is more designing things that do move. Mechanical, aero, mechatronics, robotics, sorry, should be an E. Manufacturing is listed here because it really was under mechanical, but it also involves industrial engineering, so it's over here as well. Marine, ocean, naval, biomedical. Biomedical devices is under mechanical. Okay, so now food engineering, you know, I don't know a lot about food engineering, but I think it involves dealing with chemistry. Because it's not just, even though they work in a manufacturing line, maybe, food engineers are really about preserving the food, not facilitating the manufacturing of it. Priti, do you know anything about food engineering? We'll have to look more about, we'll have to look that.
No, but I think I don't know a lot, but I think like you said, it's like a genetic engineering type thing when you talk about food engineering.
Yeah.
So it comes under there.
Okay. Okay, so Luis or everyone, I would put this in five big categories. And yes, there are some fields up here that we didn't put down there. Let's see, nuclear. I'm not quite sure where nuclear would go. Let me see, energy. I think energy goes under, energy engineering goes under there, but it also goes under chemistry. Would you agree, Priti?
Yep.
Okay, software, robotics, marine, chemical, civil, structural. Nano, okay, let's see. I'm not going to put all the materials fields in. Of course, they're with materials. Acoustics, oh, I should put acoustics here for if you're talking about acoustical engineering, if you're talking about structures. Metallurgical, optical, I put optical, yep, and electrical. Mining. Boy, I'm not quite sure where to put mining. Transportations and civil. Geomatic surveying is in geomatic. Engineering is in civil engineering. So which ones did I not put in? Mining and geological and nano. I know nano is a lot in materials, but they're also using, sorry, where am I?
You've got materials under chemical.
Yeah, what was I just talking about?
Nano.
Nano, thank you. I know nanotechnology is big in materials, but I also know nanotechnology is also pretty big in electrical, so I'll put it in both. And then the last one is geological and mining, and I'm not quite sure where to put that. Oh, we didn't do anything with fire protection engineering or fire protection engineering, and I'm not quite sure. Protection engineering. We just have a couple minutes left. And then also, what is pyrotechnics? Where do you think pyrotechnics would go under of these? Did I just spell that right? Why?
EY.
Why? We'll just leave it like that for now. Of course, that's under chemical. So if you're designing fireworks or designing, the reason why I thought of it is because when you're mining, you need explosive material. Technics. Fire protection, I think that's a cross between civil because it's structural. I don't know. I'm not going to put that one in. So these are the 5 big categories. So it may be hard for you to figure out, well, which field of engineering do I want to go into? If you could kind of separate this out as one, I really like chemistry. If you really like chemistry, you might want to choose this because, to tell you the truth, a lot of people don't like chemistry. They like physics better. So if you like chemistry, there aren't a lot of people who are working in these fields of engineering. So that means that you're going to get paid more because there's not as many. If you're enamored with computers and electronics, things that you can't touch, you might want to go into this. If you really like to work with things that you touch, things that are non-moving would be this area more, and this would be the moving area. And then this is all about manufacturing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to save this, and like I said, I will post it to our site under today's stop sharing. I will post it under today's class site, but I guess we only have, oh, sorry, Priti, I know you wanted to go over something. I kind of forgot about that.
No, you're fine. The last thing that we wanted to say today is to remind you about the homework and the quiz, which are due Monday, which will be before we see you. And I wanted to just point out that I know that you guys don't have the book, and we posted chapters 1 in the prologue, but I also wanted to point out that the 4th edition of the book is actually available online for free. It may disappear because it's like some foreign website or something that has it, but if you can't get the book or you don't have the money to get the book, whatever, you could use that. Just know that the page numbers don't match up. And that the 5th edition was revised to have a little bit more explanation throughout. And we will refer to the 5th edition in the class, but that doesn't mean you couldn't get by with the 4th edition. So I think Joanne has posted a link to that in our week 0 module under required materials. Now, that's new, so if you'd been there last week, you would have to go back to check that. And then the other thing I want to point out is that a big part of this week's assignment is about time management. And we know that many of you are working part-time. You may also be carrying a full load. You may have family responsibilities. So one of the things about being a successful student is being able to manage your time. So there's a couple activities. One is the 60-hour rule, which you should look at, and there's also a time management worksheet. And again, we're trying to set you up to best succeed in the class. So don't be surprised if you're overextended. We often find ourselves that way. But then a part of this exercise is to figure out how you can best manage your time going forward, now that you know how to do these calculations so that you can be successful in everything, meaning your job, your family, and school all at the same time. So that's, I think, what I wanted to point out today about the homework.
So a couple of things I'd like to interject is, in addition to putting the link to that foreign site on the week 0 under course material, I just posted it to the chat too. So you could probably use that to get other textbooks too. The other thing I wanted to mention, and Luis, you'll probably be interested in this. Luis, you had asked, is there any flow chart on what classes to take or a tree? And the art department and the engineering department have been working on a project the last year. And we designed, and we're making a 3D ceramic tile mural that's going outside the engineering lab. And it's not, I shouldn't have used the term tile because we're not working with just tiles. Basically, we designed this thing and it's an organic design. And then we're taking parts of it and we're going to be putting it up on the wall. So it's really going to be awesome. Maybe Luis, with your degree in art, you might want to help with the installation. But the design of it is really cool. It starts out with roots on a tree, math and science, math going into science, going up the trunk of the tree, and then coming out into the branches of these 5 different categories of engineering. And then each of the leaves represent a different field of engineering. So coming from math and science, engineering is started. And then in the background of this tree represents the community in Santa Cruz and nature. So there's an agricultural scene, and there's a beach scene, and there's a renewable energy scene with solar panels and wind turbines. And then there's a mountain scene. It's really going to be awesome. So we started the project last spring, and then COVID hit and we had to go all remote. So most of the pieces have been fired, glazed, and fired again, but there are still some pieces that have to be glazed. And then it needs to be installed. So we're going to be working on it a little bit this semester. I don't know when we're going to have the installation, but I'm really excited about that. And that does show this way of categorizing engineering fields. So if any of you are interested in that, we could maybe let me know so you could be part of the installation.
Definitely interested.
Okay, Luis. Maybe you would even be willing to help do some glazing.
Sure.
Okay. We'll just have to have like special gear on and everything, all the the protective equipment because of COVID.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're over time, so we should let everybody go.
Oh, last thing. Everyone, do let us know on suggestions you have, because this is the only time, actually, this is the second time Priti is teaching this class online, but it's my first time teaching it online. So we definitely would like feedback on how to make this online environment helpful for you in this course. Okay, and we'll post the recording if there's parts of it that you want to see, and I'll post that Word document, or I'll make it a PDF of the list of engineering fields. And have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good week.
Bye, everyone.
Should I talk to you later, or should I stay
No,
right now
Jasmine,
and
let's stay
continue?
now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Julio and Jose.
yeah, just
Do you?
maybe they went to the bathroom or something. They could stay with me.
Oh, okay.
So I'll see you tonight.
I'll see you tonight, and I'll log on a few minutes early.
Okay, great. Me too.
Okay.
And
Okay, bye.
I'll post the
Oh, let's stop.